Hello everyone, I'm Praveen here. In this video I will show you about the auto rig tools of Houdini. Before that, let's have a look on the features of the rig. Now if you see in the parameters interface, you can see many folders like root, spine, head, arm left and arm right, leg right, hand right, then foot left and foot right. And in the root folder you can see the control displays on and off and geometry display switches on and off, and you can reset the control to defaults and you can set key it only for the root controller, and you can see the entire rigs controllers displays under the root folder itself on off. Then for the bone displays also you can switch to on and off, and you can reset all the controls to defaults and you can set key it. In the spine folder you can see the control displays not only in the spine folders, you can see in the entire folders itself you have the basic control displays on and off, then bone displays on and off, and you can reset that respective folders controllers reset to defaults and you can set key it only to the respective folders. Then in the parameters in the spine folders, see these parameters have been promoted according to these orders which the controllers have been generated. Say suppose if we move the chest controller, the translate gets updated in the parameter view next to the rotations for the chest, and the next control is chest A. In the viewport you can see same in the parameter view, same in the parameter interface you can see it, and same as like belly translate. Then for the cog, if you move the cog the chest won't follow. It's because on the top of the all these parameters there is a parameter called chest follow cog. Once you set to 1, then the chest gets affected, means it follows. Same thing, it has the cog rotation also. So we have a quick look on other folders. The head, here the head also has a head follow chest everything. Then in the clavicle arm follows. Then for the stretches it has individual stretches also. For the fingers it has curl, fans, plays, and for the legs you have the twist control everything. Then you have the toe roll, rotate, translates, everything, heals, everything you have. To move on to the auto rig tools, first let me open the geometry file. This is just a biped character, just a cartoon boy. Here I've just imported the character and selected some primitives through delete operator and taken out through null. To create the auto rig panel, just go under this new pane tab type. Under this you can get the auto rigs. In the auto rig panels you can see all the options under this file menu. It has new auto rig, new from preset, new from JSON file, HD session, and HD on disk. We'll see these two later. Now let's go to the new auto rig. First let me create the asset name, boy underscore user 1. Then to create the asset label, let me leave it as boy. To access the geometry for this auto rig, you can use these options. It has 4 options. None. Without the geometry we can create the auto rig, and then the operator you can get the geometry through this boy geometry. For the file you can get the geometry in the disk itself. Stand in. Here it is just a box SOP. We can use it as a placeholder. You can create the rig again once the geometry gets updated through the auto rig settings what we have given. You can create it. but here I'm going to use through the operator which we have already imported. In the auto rig type you have three options, which is blank rig, biped and quadruped. Since the character is a biped, but here I won't use this biped which already has presets, so I would like to go for the blank rig where we can get each modules. Next is auto rig asset file path. It has two options, which is embed in file and save to disk. Here you can save the auto rig settings in the heap file itself, which means the file which we are working right now. Otherwise you can save as HDA inside the disk itself. Let me save as autorig underscore v01. Once the rig gets done, we can capture the geometry with these three options, which is biharmonic, C region, proximity. Biharmonic, it creates a tetrahedral meshes for the source geometry from a solid conform SOP and capture the weights to those points. Then the C region, which is tube volume and affect the points by the capture operations. Then the proximity. Here the bone finds the closest points to capture and deform the geometry. Here I'm going to use the biharmonic, which is more effective for these organic characters to capture, and I've selected the deform network. Here capture deform by default, which I'm going to use this option. By default, once the rig gets done, it captures the geometry by default. There is no point of doing step-by-step process. Since it's a medium resolution, it won't take much time. Then the auto rig asset icon, it is just an icon for the digital asset. Let's hit the create button. Now we can see a roots guide at the origin of the viewport. If we go to the network view, now you can see a digital asset has got created. Over there we have mentioned as asset name as boy v01 and the label name as boy. Let me hide the source geometry. Once you dive into that digital asset, you can see a standing geometry and roots guide inside the digital asset. You can see over here. And then the auto rig settings, which we have mentioned the path, we can see under this type properties, and then the auto rig settings, which is under the extra file tab. Let's get back to the auto rigs. Over here you can see a tab called boy, which we have mentioned as the label name as boy, and you can see a biped modules, quadruped modules, phase modules, presets, all modules. In the boys tab you can see the roots options, which has we can create a control label. This has got created where we have mentioned earlier as boy. You can also create a custom name like boy sample, but I'm leaving as it is. Then start adding the modules. First add the spine module, which gets created next to the root itself. Next to the spine head, you can see the guides over there. Arm, then hand, then leg, and then the foot. For each modules, it has options. Let's see one by one. If you move the root, all the modules follows the root. It's because each module for the spine, it gets parent under the root itself. If you go for the head, if you select the top root of the spine guide, the head and the arm also stays over there. It's because The head has been parented by default to the root. If I switch to the spine, before switching, just have a look. Here is the spine guides, which has got parented under the root itself, and the neck, which belongs to the head modules. These guides also got parented under the root. If I switch to the spine underscore top underscore hook, which means under the spine, you can see the changes over here. Same thing for the arm. If I parent the arm to the spine, soon it gets update over here. You can see, yeah. Now if you move this top root guide for the spine, both the head and the arm gets follow. If you move the arm now, the hand guides won't follow. You can see the root at the origin for the hand. If I parent the arm, if I parent the hand under the arm, you can see the changes over here. The hand follows the arm. Same way for the leg, you have to parent on the spine, and for the foot, which has to get parent under the leg. Now you can see all the changes what we have done. You can see all the changes over here. And you can specify the options for each modules. Now I'm going to give the stitch for the spine, and you can also specify the bones, but I'm leaving as it is. And for the arm, since it has got created to the left side, I'm going to mirror it to the right. So I'm going to check this mirror, and then the stitch. Now for the hand, you can also mirror it. Then for the leg, you can mirror and give the stitch, and I'm going to give the noodle, which is a bendy curvature rig. Now let's start positioning the each guides. Let me hide unwanted modules and start positioning the guides. This for the belly, chest. Now placing the guides for the head. This for the leg. Please try to maintain this dotted lines between the leg and the foot to avoid the means to maintain better knee foldings. Yeah, hope so. Almost I am maintaining the straight line. Now for the heel, and for the foot roll, please try to maintain this foot roll and the toes almost to the straight. Why? Because we might be facing these issues while switching between the FK and IK. There will be some offset issues, so please try to maintain it almost to the straight. Now for the arms, as usual, please maintain the straight lines for the elbows. Okay, then for this hand, please don't position the guides by translating as like this. because these guides, hand guides, fingers, everything depends on its parent of the arm. All these rotations, these axis depends on the parent of the arm. Otherwise we will be facing the problems as like this. So to do this, just rotate the arm and start placing the guides. Okay, at the end. Now placing the guides for the fingers, to make the work easy, just go for the primitive snapping. Inside the primitive snapping, check this interior snapping. This makes to place the guides almost to the center of the volume. Just snap it, which maintains the center. Yeah. Let's unhide all the modules. Oh, oops, forgot to switch the mirror. Now here the hand has two types. One is fingers, which we have placed recently, and then the glove. If you see in the fingers, and this thing is a display purpose, you can display all or either hand or fingers. And for the fingers, you can specify the counts as 3, 2, 1 finger, or just only the thumb. So here let's keep it as 4, and then you can set the limit up to 99. For the fingers, it has options for metacarpals also, and you can specify the length for the metacarpals, and you can reposition it. Now for the leg, for the foot, it has two types, boots and toes. Toes, it has fingers and metatarsals also, you can mention, and you can specify the length also, and you can specify the fingers 3, 2, 1 as like that. Let's get back to the boot itself. Now we have completed placing the gates for our body, but still there are some updations on the geometry. Earlier we have seen the network for the geometry, and over here there is one more group through the delete operator, which this character has a tail, which I will be connecting, and by adding the merge operator, yeah, you can see the tail over here. Let's go back to the auto rig panels. To get the tail set up, you can easily access it from the quadruped modules. Over here you can see a quad tail. Once you click it, gets updated over here with options. By default it gets parent under the root. Over here you can see it. And we can change the parent option to the spine. You can see the update over here, and you can start placing. the gates to that exact area. But here I've already placed the gates and exported it, so I'm going to import it. Let's see how to do it. Just delete this module and go to the presets, import preset. Once you click the import preset, you can see the file which I've exported as JSON format as boy tail 01. Now you can see the tail has been imported and it has got parented under the over here, parented under the spine. It's because since we have mentioned as spine, and you can mention the bones how much you want. Now it's time to generate the rig, but before generating you can confirm it through this asset geometry settings. The options what we have given, you can have a cross check over here, and then by deform by default we had given the option, and everything whatever we have give accept, and you can see the all the placements, those issues which I have mentioned over there. Just cross check once again, and over the legs near the hands. Now let's generate the rig. By clicking the generate rig button, it shows the message, or if you want to generate the rig for boy, you will not be able to modify the rig after generation. This action cannot be undone. Let's cancel it. So it is better to save the rig under the extra files auto rig settings, either JSON files or either to the HDA. Let's generate. Once the rig gets complete, it shows the asset name, asset type, asset stored, asset disk path, the path which we have mentioned, it has shown. Let's click the OK button. In the auto rig panels you can see the modules which you have used earlier. Now it goes to the non-editable mode, and you can see the digital asset has got created for the boy. You can see the stretches what we have mentioned at the beginning, and since we have given the option as deform by default, it has got captured through the biharmonic type. And the tail also you can see, which we have imported the preset. It has come up well. You can see a smooth blending between the FK and IK without any issues which you have seen earlier. Toes and the foot rolls, and this is the noodle rig, which is a curvature kind of rig. We can also edit this rig. Say suppose for example this arm twist control shouldn't get follow under this chest control. If the animator wants to place a pose as like this, then if the chest moves, here the arm also getting affected, means the arm twist control. So let me reset to defaults. To edit this, let me go to the allow editing of contents, which unlocks the digital asset. Once it gets unlocked, let's find where this control. Okay. On top of this control there is a null it has been constrained. Let me open the parameter interface. Over here we can also see there is one parameter called arm follows clavicle. If this is 0, the arm twist control won't follows. Means if you set it to 1, the arm follows the clavicle. And this clavicle also got parented under the spine. So this arm clavicle root and arm clavicle FK control has been constrained to this null. So I'm going to delete this constraint. Inside the null, I'm going to delete this chop network, and let's parent this arm twist control to the spine. Let me maximize this panel. Now let me parent under the spine. Where the spine? Yeah, okay. Spine local hook. Let's get back to the viewport. If you see this, now the arm twist won't get affected. And if you go under the type properties for the digital asset, then parameters tab, if you find that arm left folder, you can find this arm follows clavicle parameter. You can delete this parameter, and you can save the nodes as save node type. Then you can match current definitions to lock the asset. And I've done to the right hand side also. Now you can see the changes which the arm twist control doesn't get followed to the chest. And you can also reuse this rig which we have already been created. Let's go to the file, new from HDA on disk. Let's access the settings which I have set, the previous one as version 1. Now let's create the asset name as boy v02. Let's leave the label as boy, and to get the source of the geometry, here I won't use the operator since in the zip file there is no geometry, so I'm going to access it inside the disk itself. Here already there is a character, and I can save this to the disk as another version as v02. Then I'm going to use the same deform by default. Let me create. Yeah, it has got created. Guides has been placed according to the model. This is the same character, but in this there is no tail. So I'm going to delete this module. In the previous rig, tail was there and we have saved the settings. Now I'm going to delete this. And you can also create a custom name as boy tailless. Now you can generate the rig. With these options you can retrieve the previous setting rigs and you can keep updating it. And then this auto rig tool is a more effective tool which creates quick rig and takes less time for capturing the geometry through the biharmonic type. And you can start fun with this auto rig tools. Yeah, thank you for watching this video and follow us to get our latest updates.